My name is Ani Baker, and if this is your first time tuning in, I'm a teacher turned documentary filmmaker, and this series is called Around the World in 2020. Now, this episode takes place in Honduras, and Honduras is having an especially hard time right now. The country is underdeveloped, and it was already one of the most unstable in Central America. Honduran citizens have long experienced poverty and gang violence and drug wars, and the world's highest murder rate per capita. On top of all of this and the pandemic, they have been hit with not one but two devastating hurricanes just over the past few weeks. And because of this, several 100,000 people are in shelters across the region right now. I've even heard personally of families who are sleeping on their roofs because their homes are suddenly underwater. As all these crises pile up on themselves, their government remains entirely absent, and citizens of Honduras are helping each other because they believe that they are the only ones that can rebuild the country at this point. If you're in a position to give anything at all, please do. There's a link in the description for Honduras Solidarity Network's Hurricane Response Fund, which gets money to community-based groups that are on the ground responding to the humanitarian crisis right now. If you can give, that would be absolutely fantastic. I'm so grateful to Cindy, who you're about to meet, for sharing her story with us. There's so much to be learned from her. She shares how she comes back to peace in times of struggle, and about how much stronger her relationships with her husband and her son have become this year. And then we end with a breathing exercise taught to us by Cindy that she does with her family in order for them to ground themselves together through all of this. I thank you so much for watching. Please donate if you can. And here is Around the World in 2020, Honduras, Central America.
Unfortunately, our president didn't really take it too seriously, I could say, or if you know anything about politics here in Honduras, it's pretty crazy, and there's a lot of fraud and corruption, and our president just doesn't care about his country. So he didn't close down our borders, and eventually it just started spreading, and then now, from what I understand, we're on phase 6 of COVID-19 in our country, and all our hospitals have collapsed. So, it's so hard.
Tell me about that. Like, they're just all overrun and they can't handle any more patients?
Our government received about $420 million, and nothing has been invested in our country at all. Our citizens are under tents because he feels like that's what we deserve. So it's hard because I was raised in the US, I was raised in Costa Mesa, California, and I was raised there for the majority of my life. I came here to teach phonics, ended up falling in love, having my family stay. It's a beautiful country. I love it. It's just that with this guy, it's just been a little different. I know what the healthcare system is in, let's say, a first world country compared to this third world country where we have nothing. And our best bet, my husband's from Texas, and I have my children, and our best bet is stay inside, don't talk to anybody, and just keep to yourself, stay away from the majority of the news, to try to keep our mental peace and our mental health above all through this time. But it's hard to see. It's very out there what's happening in this country. We drive and there's entire families with their children begging for food, not money, begging for food, and I had never seen, I've seen poverty, but never to spill out to the streets, especially in the city that I live. It's a very nice residency. Like, thankfully, my husband and I, we're very blessed. We have our businesses, our work, and we've been able to take that and help our employees work remotely and still be able to provide the little that we can, what we can through this chaos. Really, so, I'm sorry, I get really tearful because it hurts.
Of course.
It hurts. It hurts to see the children, knocking in your window and begging you for food,
I did want you to tell me about your president and how specifically he was handling this situation, but now I'm curious to hear you talk to me about what was your relationship with his leadership prior to COVID. Just tell me a little bit about him and about how the citizens there feel about him.
Oh, well, our president is Juan Orlando Hernandez. They call him Ho here. There's even a special song, Es pa fuera que vas. That means you're going out, you're leaving, you're going down. I'm going to tell you that his first term, I'm not sure if he committed fraud. I know he used funds that he wasn't supposed to use, like from our public health system, which is not okay. And he won his election. He had a lot of people like on his sides. Here in Honduras, it's all about the blues and the reds, right? He's a red, and then there's a lot of blue. I mean, he's a blue, and there's a lot of reds. But his party's always been known for corruption, for being involved in being drug lords, basically. His brother was actually just convicted in the U.S. as a drug lord. Yes. Oh. Yes. And from what I understand, they're investigating now. He wasn't my preference. He tends to buy his people. He tends to prey on the less fortunate, less educated, people that have nothing, that live in the mountains. He gives them 50 lempiras, which is equivalent to maybe like what, $2 to go to his rallies and whatnot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does he address these issues publicly? And if so, what does he say about this?
Oh, wow. We have those public messaging that he does almost every night. Almost every night he feels like he needs to talk to us. Almost every night he feels like he needs to talk to us. So he does these broadcasts and he addresses to us, everything's going to be okay. We're doing everything possible. There's 95 hospitals on their way. Remind you, this was back in March. He promised us 95 hospitals, and he promised us campaigns where they would give out masks and all types of stuff. We haven't seen anything. In Villanueva, which is one of the cities here in the Department of Cortez, it's one of the cities that has been highly impacted. It's a really small little pueblo, they call it, but it's a small little city. There's an incredible amount of cases there. So the government decided to bring one of those mobile tents. Supposedly it cost $5 million. There's no bathroom. There's no running water. There's no electricity. And guess what? There's no doctors. There's nobody. It's abandoned.
It's abandoned. What is in the tent?
Nothing. He just does things for show, and then, and then it doesn't pull through. And we were just laughing with my husband a couple weeks ago. They just came out with this new this marketing thing to make people feel good, and all it is a smiley face with his eyes and a smile, and it says todo va a estar bien. Everything is going to be okay. But some of these signs are on the corner of our public hospitals, and you'll see people outside just sitting, eating on the grass. I mean, just laying there. It's poor. How much more do you want to laugh at this country? Like, how you've done what you've done, and you just keep rubbing it in our face.
Wow.
And we're really scared right now. We're really scared. And this quarantine is not like the US. We cannot go out. Everything is closed. Here in my city, we're only allowed out depending on the last digit of your ID, which is once every 2 weeks, to purchase food, to go to the bank if we possibly can. There's people that live off 200 lempiras, $10 a day to feed their family. And those are the people that are selling, icicles,
Right.
fruit, veggies on the streets.
What is the government aid like there? Is there an unemployment system? Was there any sort of stimulus package? What happens there?
There's no stimulus packet. We have nothing. What the government did said from March to actually just yesterday, they gave us 3 months of if you have any loans or anything that to do with your credit cards, you don't have to make any payments for 3 months, which just ended yesterday. And from what I understand, some of my agents are telling me that they've already received messages from the bank saying, hey, surprise, time's up. We're expecting your next payment on this date.
Right.
How?
And now, is it that you now owe 3 months worth, or is it that now it starts over?
Supposedly we don't owe those 3 months.
But
but we know that's probably gonna get taxed.
Yeah, it'll definitely get taxed, and so definitely.
We have no help. We have no healthcare system. Our doctors are dying.
That's it's such a difficult time to have such poorly handled leadership, and to be dealing with such extreme poverty all around you, and to be a compassionate person as you are, and to watch it, to know that it was bad before, and then to just watch it systematically unravel and know that nobody is getting the help that they need. How are you getting through this time? How are you surviving day to day?
My son, after almost more than 90 days in quarantine now, right now I feel like we're more united than we were before. We've been able to work through things that maybe on a normal day-to-day basis, quick living, you don't really notice or that you don't focus on. And now it's like we're here. I try to be as productive as possible. He does yoga with me. My husband does yoga. They tend to do it in the evening. That helps, We've learned to listen to each other more, be more mindful of the other person's feelings. My oldest son's in the States. He's with my mom right now, so I'm not going to be able to see him for a good minute. He's 15. And my little one, he is here with me, and he's 7 years old. And he's basically an only child here because he's alone. It's just me, him, and his father. That's it. I've gotten creative. I manage my time very wisely. I dedicate my hours to work. I do stuff with my child. I do activities. I bought him, painting books. Right now we're building our own garden outside. We have a really big patio. We started out with a worm decomposer. We put rocks, we painted it together, we threw soil, we throw organic waste in there, and then we cover it up. So we built it. And he does his own science observations. And whatever way that I could possibly tangle it up with school or a topic from school, then I do. My husband, I think this time has united us and shown him that, being a businesswoman, being a mom, being a housewife, because at the end, family sounds and you do your housework is hard. And that managing all that at once and on top, seeing the news or dealing with what's happening outside economically, he's empathized a lot more with me, I guess. He helps me cook now. If he tells me, hey, if you want to have some alone time, I'll take care of Max. I can do that activity for you and you can have your alone time. I got you some wine. I guess.
Ooh, that's great.
I never thought that, he would really understand what I do every day and see it firsthand and really feel for me, because I used to be like, dude, do you not feel bad that I work sometimes like 10 hours and I have to wash a bunch of dishes, or that I have to pick up all this mess? Like, don't you guys see that? Like,
And I think the answer is just no. I think this is such an incredible perspective, Cindy, because I've thought so much about, I work with kids. I taught for 12 years, and a bunch of my friends are parents, right? And so I've worked with their kids, whatever. So I'm very in tune with what it's like to have kids right now. And it's hard. And I can't fathom. I don't know what it would be like. And my heart goes out, especially for families who have 4 and 5 and all of a sudden they're all at home, and you have to not only educate all of them, but keep them all busy and I truly can't fathom. Definitely the attention and the love and the appreciation that they deserve right now, but also moms are doing hero work right now. And but the viewing this situation through the lens of, you know, speaking generally, like women having their husbands home and having their husbands understand, because they have to experience for the first time the job of being a mom, the job. It is work, and it is the hardest work, and there's no training for it, there's no appreciation for it, and it's also you have to be on your toes every day because the qualifications for the job change all the time.
Yeah.
And the what is required of you changes all the time.
Yep.
That's incredible that that it's a window into that.
Yes.
And I bet you guys will take that into your relationship forevermore.
Yes. I mean, mothers, geez.
Yeah.
I don't know where we get the energy. But, you know, I've also learned during this period, Annie, to be selfish, a little selfish. And sometimes I get off work and my son and my husband are like, oh, hey, this, and that, or asking stuff. And I'm like, hey, I just got off work. I need 20 minutes to myself. So you guys can wait 20 minutes.
Well, I just heard this again today, and I'll have to cite my sources. But it was somebody correcting the word selfish to selfful.
Selfful. That's even better. Yes.
Because there is a connotation to being selfish, and I mean, the least selfish desire is a mom who just wants some time to herself so that she can recharge and do the job again the next day and literally forever. Like, the least you can ask for is a little bit of time. And honestly, you deserve so much more than that. You deserve you deserve 3 hours a day of like being pampered and doing whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you deserve. Being self-full and taking that time is so important. I'm glad that you're doing that.
Turn it around to a positive note, you know, like we're here, we're blessed. We have a roof over our heads. I mean, we got running water where we live, some people don't have that. There's people with no running water. There's people that get water in the I will give you a clear example. The capital of Honduras, Tegucigalpa, they get water once, twice a week.
And then it's just in a bucket, and that's the water that you use for everything?
Yep, and they cover it so it doesn't get dirty, and that's what they pour into their toilets to flush, to wash dishes.
So it sounds like if somebody got sick and then went to the hospital there, got care, they would leave with an excruciating bill that they'd never be able to pay.
That's if they're able to get attended. You go to the hospital, not only are we fighting against COVID-19, we have a really big dengue problem. It's a mosquito that bites you. It's deadly. People hemorrhage from it. You go to the hospital, they don't even have aspirin for you. If you give birth, and let's say you need a C-section, they have no needles, they have nothing. They ask the patient's family to go purchase that stuff for them to be able to operate on you, or else they won't. That's our public health system here. Public health system is crap. You stand in 5-6 hour lines, and a nurse or whoever works there treats you like crap, probably because they haven't been paid for a couple months, because the government doesn't pay their medical staff, and there's nothing there for you. And even if you get some care, you're in a plastic chair, or you're on a hospital bed with no sheets, no pillows, nothing.
Morale being low here cannot be compared to the low morale that you are surrounded by. It's just two different worlds, right? And honestly, as compared to a lot of other people that I've spoken to as well, like, people for the most part are like, yeah, I think the government's handling it all right. We feel safe. We're getting a little bit of aid. I think the question of like, how did the low morale of COVID transition into the energy shift that surrounded the Black Lives Matter movement? But I wonder how that impacted you where you are, and if there was a conversation around it. I almost would imagine that there would be no emotional room to have a conversation about the Black Lives Matter movement, or maybe even racism itself, because people are just simply trying to survive. But tell me, how did the news of the Black Lives Matter movement or the murder of George Floyd on camera on May 25th reach you where you are? And did it start a conversation? And if so, what was that?
Well, as we know, Facebook is universal. So the majority of a lot of people are getting their news from Facebook. The video went viral. I mean, there was no way to miss it. It was everywhere. It was just, I don't think I've ever really, me myself personally, had ever seen anybody on camera go through something like that. I felt like I could even see his face sometimes. In my mind, I could see it. I could see his face, and it was hurtful. Here, it didn't bring up too much conversation. People here, like I say, the poverty is just too much. At this moment, we're on survivor mode. The majority of this country is on survival mode. But I'm going to tell you that just a couple of weeks ago, there was an incident where cops were pulling people out of a bus and just beat the crap out of the guy on camera. They got it on camera. They were sharing it. They were like, look, Black Lives Matter, but how come a movement this big can't be pushed on here in this country? Why do we let the military do this to us? Why do we allow our law officers to treat their citizens this way? It was more of an impact of being treated as human, as being respected, having your government protect you, making us feel safe instead of us feeling scared. Unfortunately, our law officers here are very crooked. I've had personal experiences where they ask me for money.
Right. So I've heard a lot
or they ask me for my number. They prey on women. They prey on people's, on their economic situation, and they don't want to get in trouble, or they use that behind them to do what they want. I can be getting robbed right now, and I could call the cops. Maybe a 911 officer or somebody will answer, an operator will answer. Will I see somebody in my house? An officer come here? No. And the one time I did call the cops, he showed up 3 hours later.
And there's probably there just has to be no accountability for bad behavior in law enforcement as well. And I'm sure it's emboldened, and and they can get away with anything, right?
Oh yeah. No, but you know what happens here? That the president has everything under his finger. Everything. He has the courts, he has the military, he has all the police officers. I mean, he has politicians. They all work for him. It's very corrupt.
So in an impoverished place, when it's easy to see that the cops and the military have all the money, they have shiny cars, and they are supported by the president and stuff, do kids like your son, 7-year-old son, look up to that and go like, I want to be a cop because it looks cool?
That's funny that you mentioned that. When he was younger, he used to tell me, I want to be a cop. Mm-hmm. Then just recently he told me that he was going to be a firefighter. And I was like, oh, you want to be a firefighter? I'm like, well, why do you want to be a firefighter now? What happened to be a cop? I was like, I thought that was cool. And then he's like, no, because cops here are bad, Mom. And I was like, well, why are they bad? I was like, why are they bad? And he goes, do you remember that one time? And the cops never came. I had a situation where I got robbed at gunpoint coming out of immigration.
No. Oh.
And he witnessed it. I didn't think he was younger. I was able to get him in the car. I was able to get my purse in the car. So the guy just basically put the gun in my face, stole the other lady's purse, took my phone. And my son's in the car watching this the whole time. And, the whole time I'm just like, okay, just take whatever you want to, especially because I have an accent. I speak English in this country. People think I'm American, and they probably think I have money or whatever. He came, took our stuff, and my son goes, Mom, oh my gosh, he almost killed you. And I was like, you know what? I was like, it's okay. It doesn't matter because we gave him whatever he wanted, and this is what you have to do. And it's sad when you have to teach your children to just bow your head down to these people and let them take your stuff. Because it will kill you, and nobody here will investigate your death, let alone catch the person who killed you. But I have to teach my son that if in any case this happens, he needs to bow his head and just give them whatever they want. It was devastating. Well, I didn't really think he picked up on that. I really didn't. And then he mentions it. It just makes me wonder what other questions he had that maybe he didn't ask when that happened.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't understand. He was young, but he was able to understand that the cops didn't do anything for us.
Yeah, he processed that information. And it's also interesting, like he tuned into your needs in that moment, and he also felt that they weren't being met.
Unfortunately here, my neighbor can be getting robbed. and I'm gonna look away. I have to look away. You know why? Because it's allowed and nobody's gonna do anything here.
There's no
because if I say something, the same cops will tell the people that didn't. They will come and kill me and my family. People here have to do that. We're scared to even go to our police department and say, hey, so and so, this is happening to so and so. Like, we have to be quiet, act like we didn't see anything, because nobody does anything here.
I feel like I've leveled out emotionally since mid-March. And honestly, the Black Lives Matter movement filled me with hope. Like, for me, my morale has shifted, because now I'm like, well, I know that these things wouldn't have happened if it weren't for COVID stripping everybody of their daily responsibilities. And so now I'm like, I can see the benefit of it, and I can see how this energy can be used towards good, or for good, towards a better future. And I'm trying to figure out, and I will be working on this from now on, like, what is my role in being anti-racist? What is my role in helping to build a better future? When I'm in power positions, how can I make sure that I diversify my crew? How can I stand up against like intolerance and stuff? And then where do you go? Where do you go where racism isn't present? Nowhere. Everybody I've spoken to, they deal with whatever their version of racism is wherever they are. It's a thing people do to each other. It's just like, it's such low level thinking. The fact that people don't move beyond their racist ideals is just, I don't know. I don't know what it's a testament to. I want to say it's a testament to bad education, but it's not, because it's prevalent everywhere. It's beautiful to hear you talk. So it's also beautiful to hear you talk about just what your husband has learned about what being a parent is, and specifically what being a mom is. It sounds like you guys have a supportive trio. You and your husband and your son. Your son is incredibly lucky to have you. I can tell just by talking to you. You're an incredible mom. What else do you think will be a takeaway for you? Something good that you've learned about yourself, that you've maybe learned about you and your husband and your relationship. I'm also curious if you can speak to what you think your son could be gaining from this time, because for kids it's a different challenge. It's almost just like they're having to learn to cope, but like, do you think there's lessons that he's learning that can be of value to him later on?
Yeah, I'm a big on exposing my son to helping others. I took him out the first time. I took him out on a drive. I wanted him to see what I was seeing on the street. I know it sounds kind of harsh, but I wanted that reality to impact him, because my son is privileged. He has everything. My husband and I, we will go to the end of the world, and luckily we're stable. We're still able to be okay during these tough times, and my son is privileged, and I need him to understand and be grateful with all his heart. I took him out and he couldn't believe it. He cried and he told me, he goes, why is our government so mean? Seeing the kids on the street with no shoes, babies in mother's arms, and that sun, because there's no shade. Just, my son was like, I remember we came back that day and he goes, I don't want to go out anymore. He goes, I don't feel good. I don't feel good seeing them, and I wish I could do something. So I told him, well, we could do something. There's always something you could do, We get bags of clothes, we get food. I taught him that whenever I go to the supermarket and we come back with stuff, we make little baggies, like just little baggies, a little thing of coffee, some like oil, a little thing of rice, a little pound of beans, something that can help a family eat for at least 2 to 3 days, even if it's just bean and rice. In regards to me, my son's very tough character. He's a very sharp cookie, very quick. I feel like he's too mature for his age. And too smart for his age sometimes, and he notices things and says things that he captures things very quickly and very easily. Maybe I don't notice it until later, and he'll tell me. He goes, Mom, calm down. Or when he sees me frustrated, he goes, Mom, you want to do your breathing exercises?
What?
Calm down and breathe.
You are raising a
Mom,
good man.
You're getting frustrated.
Wow.
He's like, you should breathe.
That's incredible.
this country is very machista. So it's not like you see boys cry and you're like, oh, why are you crying? Why are you crying? Boys don't cry. And it's like, I've learned to turn that mentality around in my own husband as well.
Oh my God, hero.
Because, like I tell him, we're living in different times. We teach our children to live in the times that we're in and to deal with what's happening now. And mental health is something. It's real. Some people still don't want to acknowledge that mental health is still something very real. But now he's able to have those conversations with us. So I think this is something that isn't just going to be happening during COVID. I think even after COVID, he's going to be able to have these conversations. He's going to be able to, express his feelings. And all this that he's learning right now is going to help him be stronger when we do get out of this. His mental health, I feel, is going to just be stronger, and that makes me feel really good.
A huge crusade of mine as a teacher was to teach kids about themselves and each other first. They can't even be available for learning if they don't understand how to process their own emotions. And I created an extracurricular program, and then I made this documentary that I'll release, when school starts up again. But it's about the need for better sex ed. But like my whole idea with improving sex ed is the fact that that's a publicly mandated course that exists to teach us about ourselves. So let's just go in through that avenue that already exists and then just teach people about themselves,
Correct.
And it's everything. And so the fact that your son is there and he's learning to process his emotions this time at home outside of the school system will probably benefit him more than years in the school system, because it is so, his ability to process emotions will touch every aspect of his life. And I am grateful for you. And I know firsthand how important that work is. And he is so lucky that you're teaching him those coping strategies, because I've had the same thought. My upbringing was so hard, and my teen years were so hard, and my 20s were so hard because I had zero coping skills and I had tons of abuse around me all the time. And it's taken so much unnecessary work to work through that. And so what a gift you are to him.
Thank you. Truly. And with my husband, Annie, I think I have fallen in love with my husband more because he's really came to understand, and I see the effort that he's putting in on helping me get through and really understanding everything that I do and giving me that time and space for me, and just being like, hey, you deserve a break, which is very rare to hear from mom, and I just feel like I can speak to my husband more. Before, I used to scream a lot. It was like I felt like if I didn't scream, he didn't understand me, or he wouldn't listen to me. He would only listen to me or really understand. I felt like when I was just at that extreme breaking point, and now even little things that bother me, and I tell him in a very, without being offensive, without being rude, but I'll be like, that was very uncalled for. I'm just gonna let you know that was wrong. But I feel that I'm able to express myself with him better now without it turning into an argument all the time. I feel like now we can talk and it's healthy. And even when we don't like it, we're just kind of like, well, that's what you think. Okay, well, I respect that, whatever. we have a lot more tolerance for each other. I feel that if this was the apocalypse and I'm with you, I'll survive. You're a good leader in our home. Thank you. I feel like I'll survive the apocalypse. If I'm with him, he'll know exactly what to do. He's got us. He'll make the right choice. And he's done so good so far for us right now.
Do you mind if we end on you teaching me the breathing exercise that you...
Yes. We just take, we sit up nice and tall. Our shoulders are back and down away from our ears. And sometimes we just sit there in silence. I put some meditation music. And then I tell him, we're going to take our first breath. We're going to hold it for 3 seconds. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Make sure that your chest is open, that you're receiving gratitude. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And then we normally just do we bow our heads and we say namaste.
Incredible how powerful even just that is.
Yes.
Thank you so
I
much.
love talking to you, Annie. Thank you
love
so much.
talking to you. I appreciate
you.
your openness and honesty, and I'm so grateful for you offering your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for Elizabeth for thinking of me.
Yeah, I'll tell her hi for you, and then
Yes.
I'll be in touch about like how these are going to roll out and when you can expect to see them and stuff like that.
All right. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Annie. And thank you for bringing awareness to everything that's happening around. And the world needs more people like you, really. And I wish I could even be as close to how loving you are. I feel like you're just phenomenal. And I see you, I follow you, and I think you got a good thing going, Annie. You're blessed. Keep doing it. Trust me, you make an impact. You make an impact. Even the smallest ripple, even the smallest grows into something very big.
Thank you for that reminder. Yeah.
Yes,
I appreciate
remember that. I appreciate you. Talk to me whenever, okay? Email me.
Yeah, I will. We'll stay in touch, and have a wonderful rest of your evening with your family.
Thank you.